He is JXT.
What's going on, guys? Good to be here and happy to be on the show.
Thank you, man. Thank you. I love your background. I know you're a figure collector. I know you're big on that. I am too. That's an amazing collection. Oh my God. Let's talk about that. What made you start collecting figures?
Thanks. Now, that's pretty much when I was 4 years old. I had my 5th birthday party and I got 3 wrestling figures, and I was already in love with the video games. I was playing WWF Warzone and I got those 3 wrestling figures. And with the money from that birthday party, I went and bought more. And yeah, that's the one constant in my life. Is even as I fell in and out of wrestling in my teens, I always collected wrestling figures, and yeah, they've just always been there.
What was your first ever figure? That's like a question I get asked all the time. What would be your first ever figure that you got?
It was the I got a Bone Cruncher X-Pac, I got a WCW Booker T Ring Fighters, and the Smash and Slam Kevin Nash, all on that birthday.
Wow.
Yeah, the 3.
What a great way to start the collection.
That was it. I went down to Toy World. What we have in Australia, with Toy World, and I went and brought the Ring Fighters, WCW Bret Hart, and that was it. I was off collecting wrestling figures for the rest of my life and until today.
Awesome. All right. And tell me why you became a wrestler. Tell me what made you want to decide, taking bumps is what I want to do for my future.
I don't know, man. I considered the taking bumps, but I never grew up. A lot of people start watching wrestling when they're kids and they're teens, or when they're children. As they grow up, they grow out of it, or they think they want to be a wrestler. Like kids want to be a fireman, or they want to play football or basketball, and then they grow up and then they find different careers. I just never grew up and never gave up on it, and I was constant my whole life. I was like, I'm going to be a wrestler. I'm going to be a wrestler. And like I said, I had the games, the figures. I'd watch religiously. And I just never grew out of it. And I think a part of that was people trying to tell me, no, you won't be a wrestler. You can't be a wrestler. And I was almost pushing against that. But, yeah, I just never grew up, really.
Awesome. And tell me, about your first experience stepping into the ring. Tell me how that must have been.
It was, again, being like a super mark. You study wrestling, you read about wrestling, you watch interviews, listen to podcasts, and even every aspect of the business you can soak up, I would. So I almost knew what I was in for in a way, if that makes sense. So I was as ready as I could be. So I was pretty ready for it.
You were ready to take those bumps. So you knew that you were going to step into that ring. You were going to break something.
Yeah, I didn't expect it to not hurt. Like, I run a wrestling school now here in Melbourne, and we have so many people come in and with, no fitness to them, have never done anything athletic, and they expect it to be easy to pick up, the fitness side. Then we have people that, they expect it not to be painful for some reason. I don't know. I knew what I was getting into. Like I said, I have been religious about wrestling since I was 4 years old. So I knew every aspect I could without being in the business, or tried to anyway. So that helped me a lot because I was ready for everything that come forward.
Awesome. All right. Well, let's get to the fun stuff. Like I said, I'm a huge fan. I watched your match with Facade. I love that match. I think you two are very unique together. Tell me about that match. Tell me about that rivalry, because that was like a nice big rivalry for you when you were in the US.
Yeah, Facade's great. He had, like, through Instagram and Twitter, we sort of connected before I even got to the States. And then through people we knew, we sort of started getting talking. He's like, look, we have the same look. You seem like a really nice guy. When you come over here, I want to get to work with you sometimes. So we sort of got it happening at the start of, I did a tour in 2019, which was my longest one, a 3-month tour. And at the start of that, we tried to get on some shows together, and we hit it off. He was such a good brother to me. He looked out for me, if you need a place to stay, let me know. I'll try to get onto this show, that show. And he really, gave me a lot of tips and help. And yeah, it was really cool to have someone like-minded, and we hit it off. And then as things went on, we got to work together and against each other and have, like you said, that awesome match, which I'm pretty proud of, as it's on YouTube if you want to check it out.
I'll put the link in the bio, below.
Awesome, thank you.
All right. So tell me about, what was your greatest moment in wrestling, if it has happened yet? Was there a moment in wrestling where you're like, this is where I made it? This is where it all, time stood still completely?
There's definitely not a moment where I've gone, oh yeah, I made it, because I don't feel like that at all. I still have to work a real job here in Australia. Yes, it's a pandemic, but I'm not earning a living. That's the goal. The goal is to earn a full-time living, whether it's with my wrestling school, whether it's me as a wrestler. I want to live off wrestling purely. I want that to be the full-time career where I don't have to work a side job. Whereas at the moment, wrestling is the side job. But other than that, the Impact show in the ECW arena that I worked was a pretty big deal for me. Being from a country town in Australia, then to being on that stage was something. It was a although again I don't feel like I've made it and I have so much further I really want to go, and I feel like I've only scratched the surface. You still got to catch yourself and enjoy those moments. So at that time when I was standing on that stage, I was like, yeah, this is pretty cool.
Yeah, I feel like made it was an understatement. I meant like just where time stood still. As a wrestling fan, it could have been winning a title for the first time. It could have been, anything. Like just being at your first show could have been memorable as it is. But I didn't mean to like make it. Obviously, no one feels like they made it until it's at that point.
Yeah, no, you're fine now. I know what you mean now. Yeah, it's hard with the pandemic. We're here in Australia, and it's the worst thing about living here is there's so little wrestling. And the scale is so much smaller too. The shows aren't as big. The companies aren't as big. The money's nowhere near as big. So what we do on the scale of what I was doing in America is so much harder to grasp. So I think I just feel so far away from it. That's why when you asked me this YouTube video podcast thing, I was like, of course, because you're in New York, right?
Yeah. Brooklyn.
You're in New York where I want to be. So I was like, the more I can do to be around the wrestling business in New York and to be, back in that area, makes me feel like I'm a wrestler still.
But see, it's the same thing here. I said to myself, I'm like, there's a pandemic there. A lot of people are watching all this wrestling, forgetting about the indies. Let's keep these wrestlers as, still noticed. That's why I said, I want to get you on the show. I want everyone to watch this interview, and I want them to be like, I remember him. Let's not forget about him. Even though there's a pandemic and it's hard, we still, all need to remember that the indies is important. There's a lot of talent in there. Speaking of indies, there will always be a company of your choice. Obviously, the pandemic is making things very hard, but they have showed that people in New Japan Pro Wrestling came from Australia. People from WWE, all over different companies. What company did you ever decide, like, the roster here is amazing? The bookings are amazing. The talent's amazing. Have you ever thought of a company that you would decide to choose as your first company? Not your last, but your first.
Yeah, I know what you mean. If I had a preference to which company I'd go to, I'd love to go to WCW, where the big boys play. Sadly, it's not 1997. But, I think every company has its bonuses, I guess. Mm-hmm. Like I said, I just want to make a living. I love the way AEW shot. And same as Ring of Honor, they're very sport-oriented. They treat it very much so like a sport. And I'm a bit of a purist in that aspect. I love that. WWE is great on their scale and the way they put into their production and everything's, the way they build things up is the next level. And then I love wrestling at Impact. Like, I think it has a good combination of all that. And then if you want to go next level again, wrestling in Japan and New Japan is... That's like a dream almost, because it's so out of this world. I guess every sort of place has its own good parts. I guess I don't have one where I'm like, this is where I want to wrestle. But any company out there that I can sort of get my feet into and just get an opportunity with and take the world over, yeah, that's the one I'm going to take. Unless it's WCW.
Maybe one day. Who knows? Maybe something will happen and it comes back. But, you took the opportunity. I also watched another match that, by far one of my favorites is you with the versing the current IWGP World Heavyweight Champion right now, Will Osprey. That was a classic. I don't know how many times I watched that match. How did it feel to step in the ring with someone like Will Osprey?
No, thanks. There's only been a couple moments in my career, especially in the last sort of 5 years, where I hopped in the ring with someone and noticed that they were a step above and they were a step ahead of me. That was definitely one of those moments. Also, too, I wrestle a very American style. Even though I'm in Australia, our style is very similar to the American. and obviously me going back and forth to America, that was very much what my style was based off. He obviously has an English background and wrestles a Japanese style. It was completely different to me, psychology-wise, structurally, and I really struggled, if I'm being honest with you. I really struggled to grasp it in that match. Once the match was done, and my matches after that, it sort of sunk in. But that was a massive learning experience for me. And if you want to look it up on YouTube, guys, it's there, and watch me learn in the ring in front of everyone. Because, yeah, I was almost out of my element, but it was good. I learned more in that match than I think I have in any other match I've had. So that was definitely an experience, and I'd love to do it again.
I'm also going to put that match in the link in the bio, so everyone check that out. All right, next question would be, now that you're, during pandemic right now, there's not much to do. You're a trainer. I had no idea that you train. How long have you been, training? How long have you been training out of school?
So we opened the Relentless School of Pro Wrestling here in Melbourne at the start of 2020, right before the pandemic hit us. We had, I think, 2 weeks, and then we had to shut down we had a massive lockdown. Our lockdown laws were quite strict through 2020. I know in the States, a lot of things stayed open. We weren't allowed to leave our house other than to get food, to get medicine, or unless you were an essential service like a police officer or a nurse. So we were stuck to our houses for a good 9 months in my state in Australia. So we had to not close the school, but we had to make it online only. So there was a lot of promo classes and match breakdowns. But yeah, that was really rough. But yeah, since the start of 2020, we opened the Relentless School of Pro Wrestling, and I've been taking everything I've learned, along with the other trainers, Fox and Jake Navarro, they're wrestlers here in Australia. We've taken all our experiences, putting it together, and yeah, 4 nights a week we train people, and then we normally do 5 because there's always private sessions after that. But yeah, that's, again, another awesome experience and just another aspect of the wrestling business I love is training.
And you're currently still wrestling. You just had a match recently. I was watching on social media. It's amazing the fact that even though we're at the hardest point of our times, you're still doing good as a wrestler by getting bookings, by training. You're doing what it takes to make ends meet, which is amazing as a performer and as an athlete.
Thanks. It's funny you say that because I know over in other countries it's probably the hardest time, but for us, we haven't had a COVID case in my state for I think 40 days. Australia is really on top of it. Where on the weekend there's going to be a football game with 100,000 people in the stadium because we haven't had a case of COVID in 40 days. We had a really strict and sharp lockdown, but because we did that and that sucked, we weren't allowed to leave our house. But because of that, we now don't have COVID. Yes, we live in a COVID-safe world, but we don't have to wear masks outside. We're allowed to have big crowds. And yeah, we had a wrestling event on the weekend, Deathmatch Down Under. We had 250 people in the building and it was sold out. So we're allowed to have shows in front of crowds with no masks. And in that aspect, it sucks that we can't go overseas because we actually have a travel ban. But we are allowed to do what we can within our country, which is awesome. So we're back to having shows and crowds. I know next month, here in Australia, to have a show every week is pretty lucky. I have 7 bookings next month, so I've got 1 a week, sometimes 2. We're back to wrestling, at least here in Australia for the time being, which is fucking awesome. I can't stress that enough.
How can we stream it? My question is, if I want to pay to watch a show, how can we stream it? How can we, in the U.S. over here, watch that?
In the U.S., I know you might have heard of IWTV.
Mm-hmm.
So Deathmatch Down Under will be on IWTV. Let me tell you, I can tell you, and how good it is, I can even tell you the American time for you. So in American time, American Eastern, it says EDT, what's that? Eastern Daylight?
Yeah, I think it's Eastern, yeah.
Eastern time, 8 p.m. on the 2nd of May in the United States. It'll be on IWTV, which is the 3rd of May at 10 a.m. for us here in Australia. But yeah, IWTV, man, independent wrestling TV, which I'm so happy about because when I wrestled for Beyond and Game Changer and Wrestle Pro, all those shows were on IWTV, and it's such an awesome platform with such a core fan base. When we started Deathmatch Down Under, the promotion here in Australia, when I heard that we landed a deal with ARWP, I was over the moon because, again, it's another way for me to stay relevant with that American fan base whilst living in Australia, just like this, this interview.
Yeah, man, and it's exciting. Now that I know, I can't wait to check it out. You'll see the support. I'll be posting, my
awesome. Please do.
reactions, of course. So, we talked about a few of your matches. Those were my favorites. What were your favorites they want everyone to check out? If they're on YouTube or on IWTV, what are just 3 matches that you think everyone should check out that may be overlooked? Might be like, may not have been a bigger opponent, but still an amazing match.
Well, the 2 you mentioned are probably the standout ones, myself against Facade and then myself against Will Osprey. But if you go on YouTube and you look up my name, just JXT, you'll find a ton of matches. I normally put them on my own YouTube channel in a playlist. I recently won this in Australia, this King of Colac Championship. This match was pretty cool. Colac's a country town where I live, where they had their own promotion. I won their championship. That match is on YouTube. It's JXT versus Sketch is his name. That match is really cool too. I got some color. It was a lumberjack match. We got some color. There was stuff happening everywhere. That's pretty exciting, and that's actually part of my own promotion, Mayhem Pro. Me and a few other guys here run that, and we're slowly trying to build that up as well. So that's on our Mayhem Pro YouTube channel. You can check that out. That one was only 3 weeks ago. I still have the scar on my head, if you can see it there.
I could, yep. Yeah, I see it.
So that's again. I don't look back at my career too much. So yeah, that's the most recent match that's on YouTube. That's why I'm like, yeah, check that one out. But like I said, on the 2nd of May at 8 p.m. American time, Eastern time, check out Deathmatch Down Under, because the matches I've had on that show this weekend were probably 2 of the best matches I've had in a long time.
Awesome. Well, I'll definitely check it out, and I know everyone who's listening will definitely check it out as well. And they'll show their support. They'll tag you, on every platform, and you'll see how many people, still in the U.S. and everywhere else know the name JXT.
That's awesome. That makes me feel so happy and warm inside, because it gets lonely out here. You do feel like I'm not making a difference. People, I'm not relevant in that American wrestling scene anymore. So, like I said, things like this and you're like, even this YouTube show, yeah, I appreciate the hell out of it. Thank you.
It's amazing, actually, because, it was the pandemic that made me be a fan of yours. I was just, on YouTube one day. There was, a lockdown in the U.S. I was in Poconos. I wasn't even in New York at the time. And I was just on YouTube, and I found your match. I'm like, this guy's amazing. I'm going to give him a follow. I gave you a follow long time ago, and I'm like, what? Now is the time. Now is to get him on, to get this, and it was, a lot of amazing stuff that you did, and it's gonna be a lot to show for a lot of people.
No, thanks. That's all. It's awesome that, like, even in, like you said, during the lockdowns when we weren't wrestling, just having content on YouTube and stuff online has been able to make you find me, and that's led to me being on this show. Like, yeah, and it just goes to show that although sometimes I feel like I'm not getting anywhere, slowly, step by step, keep getting the name out there, keep trying, keep pushing. So that's awesome. Thanks for letting me know.
Of course, and WrestlePro is very big in New York, New Jersey. They're not stopping anything. So hopefully, when this pandemic is over, we'll see you back at a WrestlePro show soon.
Hopefully I can get back over there and live on Kevin Matthews' couch again. And, get back on some WrestlePro shows. My home away from home. I love that place.
Awesome. All right. So you did bring this up, and I want to acknowledge it. There was a lockdown for you. There were no shows, and then you came back 3 weeks ago with a live audience, with a whole crowd. How did that feel? Tell me a normal crowd reaction, how before COVID, and now that after COVID, the reaction of crowds that showed up.
I feel like the crowds are so much more, compassionate, because they've missed wrestling, we've missed wrestling. Everyone as a whole is just happy to be there, I think. There's less, how sometimes you can go to a show and people can almost go there and not want to be there. Everyone wants to be there. The vibe is happy. No one's been an asshole to anyone. It just felt so cool to get that buzz, because I think, every wrestler you speak to, we live and thrive off that buzz and that energy of being out there, going through the curtain every time, and having, I think it was something like 10 months or 11 months where we couldn't get anything close to that was painful, you know? So, yeah, best feeling in the world when you walk out there. Trust me.
Awesome. Another thing I want to talk about, some of my favorite parts to talk about it is wrestling gear. I think a wrestler's only as good as their gear. You know, if you want to come out like money and you look like money, you are money. You know, you're the main prize. Your gear has changed recently from the purple to I don't know what they're called. They're not ripped. They got the flannels. I remember you had the flannels.
They're like overalls.
Yeah. And now you have the black jeans type of look, like the joggers type of look. Tell me why this had to change your gear, and tell me what, you know, made you want to do your first gear. How made you want to design it that way?
You meant like I had the tassels.
The tassels, yes.
Yeah.
But I'm sure you had something before that as well, right? Before the tassels, you had something else. So
yeah, I've always spent a lot of money on my gear. The same thing. I thought, you know, you want to, if you want to be seen as a star, you need to dress and look like a star.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, very much. I was always wearing purple. Like, I'm a big fan of Taz. I have my little Taz. There you go.
Awesome.
And Taz always had his color orange and he stuck to it. So I had my color purple. I stuck to it. And majority of the time here in Australia, at least, I've been a babyface, especially in my home state. And I built up the JXT character, and to the point where people knew JXT. He wears purple, and I had the tassels. I had the big, I had the dreads. I had this look to me. And then after coming back from the United States and not being able to get back there and being here, I didn't want to come back from the pandemic and be the same. So I thought it was time for a change and to turn heel. I thought it was time to, if I'm going to change the character, that because my character was very young, party boy, full of energy, which is why the tassels, the color, you know, and I'm a bit older now, you know, I'm not 23, I'm 27. So I'm a bit older and a bit wiser, you know, I'm not dancing and partying, coming at dance music. So I wanted to change every aspect about me that I could. So I changed the music, the vibe, the look, the demeanor, the way I wrestle. So I stripped back. I took the purple away. I said, I'm not wearing purple anymore. No more color. Just I want people to be able to see the shift and change in the character, because you might have seen JXT in 2017 and you'll see me and you'll be able to tell it's the same person, but I want you to be like, oh, he's changed. What's happened? Oh, he's been overseas and he's been to America this many times and he's done this and he's done that and he's learned all these things.
America corrupted him. America corrupted him.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, the hardest part for me was when I went to America for my last tour, and they sent me back. They held me in customs and they sent me home and said I need a different visa. That was the worst time. So it broke me. That's how I say.
So when you come back to America, you're gonna be a heel. Is that like the first sighting of, you know, when you come back to the U.S.? You're gonna be a heel.
Well, like I said, I got sent back, so I need a work visa to come back. However I can get that, whoever gets that for me, I will do whatever they want me to. So if that means I need to be heel, I need to be face. And I think that's the beauty of it. Although I changed the character within my home state, I knew I was going to be a heel, but the character can work both ways. You know, I can work a crowd any way I want. So ideally, yes, but I don't mind being either or, you know. At the moment, I just need to find a way to get into the United States. It looks like the only way is if a company offers me a contract. So it's going to be a hard push, but I'm not giving up, trust me.
I'm sure a lot of companies are looking at you because your name's it's not one of those names where it's like, oh, it's just this guy. JXT is a very popular name, a lot of people know it. So I'm sure that contract will be coming sooner rather than later.
Thank you, hopefully.
Of course. All right, so let's talk about, you know, dream matches. Like you said, you're there right now, you're stuck. I'm sure everyone wants to tweet, let's have these guys versus each other on social media platforms. People always want to talk. So who are 3 people you would like to face? Doesn't matter what company they're in, just I know that I'm going to have a decent match with these guys. I know there's going to be good chemistry there based on how they wrestle, based on how I wrestle.
Mm-hmm. I think number 1 is my boy Joey Janela. We had that match lined up. It was meant to happen in Alaska. that this was the tour where I came over and a custom sent me back. So it got cancelled, and then he was meant to come to Australia, and then with the pandemic, that never happened. So, yeah, that match was meant to happen a couple of times, and he looked out for me so much when I was in the States. So, yeah, we both want to get the match to happen. We love to work together. We train together. We've been to the gym together a ton of times. He's helped me so much. So I think just having that moment to share the ring would be awesome. So definitely Joey. Chris Statlander is another one who we had the match booked and planned in the for that tour. She is such a talent, and I remember seeing her at Creator Pro and Wrestle Pro shows and being like, this girl is going to take the world by storm, and she is. You look at her in AEW, she's unreal. So, yeah, just getting, again, a match that I had in my head that this is going to happen. I can't wait. We were both excited for it, and it got taken away from me. Yeah, so they're both two current guys. And if you say dream match, I'd say probably against the big bad booty daddy, Scott Steiner, get him out of retirement if he's still going to wrestle. Get him up there. We can get Hollywood Hogan to come and give me a leg drop.
All right. A few guys that I personally want to see dream matches with. I'm going to do one of each company. So obviously I want to do a second one between you and Osprey. You both grown.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
That's going to have to be a big one.
One where I've learned and I won't feel so far behind him.
Also, like you brought up Joey Janela, that's an amazing match. I know you guys take it to an extreme ECW, WCW era type of match, which is going to be insane. For, WWE, I'm going to go AJ Styles. I feel like you have the same chemistry with AJ, and I know that you're a TNA fan. I know that you have a lot of the TNA figures. Imagine getting in the ring with AJ. That would be something. For Ring of Honor, I think the best guy from there would be Jay Lethal. I think you and Jay Lethal can have an insane classic. And NWA Nick Aldis, that's definitely going to have to happen for the NWA title. You got to go through everybody. There's just a lot of names that I could see JXT having amazing matches with.
Jay Lethal's awesome. He's the guy I've worked a fair few shows with. And he, again, always looked out for me, always been a good dude. Same as Nick Aldis when he was here. I actually clicked with him very well. So, they're two guys I'd love to work. And AJ, man, how would you not want to work him? He's one of the best wrestlers in the last 2 decades. So, yeah, there'd be some pretty big matches for sure.
Yeah, also, like you brought up Impact Wrestling, so much amazing talent there. I could see getting in the ring with Rich Swann, current World Heavyweight Champion.
Ooh, yeah, for sure.
Or the best technical wrestler, TJP, there's so many amazing talent out there that as soon as Australia, lets you start wrestling more out of the US and you get that visa, it's going to be a lot of amazing talent out there.
Yeah, hopefully. That's the plan. Just come over there and just bloody hit it. All guns blazing.
All right. How do people support you? That's the major thing right now. That's the major thing that we want to get through. How do people support you in any way? What is I see you have the JXT shirt. I want one of those.
Everything.
Where can I get those?
You can get JXT shirts at wrestlermerch.com. It's like the Australian version of Pro Wrestling Tees, if you will. Wrestlermerch.com, and you can find my profile on there. Or follow me, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, at JXT_official. It's the same across all of them. I have a YouTube channel. I do a vlog, JXTV, which I did years ago. I stopped it for a big period. Now I've brought it back. So I do that every week or every second week whenever I get a chance to do it. But whenever there's a show, I'll do a vlog. So literally now every show I'm on here in Australia, I'm vlogging to the show, backstage at the show, clips from the show and afterwards. So YouTube, yeah, and like I said, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, at JXT_official. And you see my big head on there. I should be going like, on there.
Awesome. And you also do Twitch. Don't forget the Twitch. Twitch is very important.
Twitch is right here. I got it right here. But yeah, I'm on Twitch. Twitch.tv/ again, JXT_official. I stream. I'm actually not going to stream, but I am going to play with my friends for the first time in about 3 weeks. I've been that busy. I've been able to play. So I'm a bit rusty. I've got to tune up the Call of Duty skills before I get back on the stream. But yeah, come check it out on Twitch. I even opened up an old WCW ring last week. I don't know if you saw. I opened this ring up.
Yeah.
So
beautiful. Oh,
We're trying to do some different things on there, but yeah, just anything I can do to get my name out there, please come on, follow me, and thanks for the support if you do.
awesome. What games do you play on Twitch? You brought up Call of Duty. What other games do you play?
That is pretty much it. I'm a pretty
No
horrible
time.
gamer.
No
I
time
can't
to play any
game.
other game.
I only played it with during the pandemic, so I had the Xbox One, hadn't played it for 2 or 3 years. The pandemic hit, we're in lockdown, there's nothing to do. So me and my friends, to catch up, we would get on the Xbox and party up so we could all talk because we couldn't catch up anymore. So we would get on and play together, and we started just playing Call of Duty, and now we all just kept playing. We didn't, again, like wrestling, didn't grow up. So that's the only game I play. I'm not necessarily a hardcore gamer, but I play with my friends 2-3 times a week, and I thought, I'm having so much fun. Why don't we bring the fans in and, get people involved?
You should get a W2K. I know there's a few JXT community creations out there. A lot of people created you. I know you've seen that. That's definitely something,
That's definitely. I know it's awesome. I don't know. I haven't played a wrestling game, at least a modern one, in years. But yeah, I know the fans always do. They always tag me on social media whenever they make me, and I think that's such a cool thing. I always say there's a few things. There's a few of those moments. There's obviously the first contract. There's the first wrestling figure, and then there's being in a video game. They're 3 sort of big things,
Yeah, I remember back, when I originally first followed you, one of your first posts, I thought it was real for a second. You were like learning graphic design or something, and you made your own JXT figure. That was awesome. That was really creative out there. One day we're going to get that figure.
Hopefully, yeah. That actually, it's funny because when I was studying graphic design, I used to go on the wrestling figs message boards, and we would make Photoshop wrestling figures of all different people, and that's sort of where the love of graphic design started, to where I can design all my own logos and stuff. I do all my own merch, and yeah, that's what really, again, if it wasn't for wrestling, it wouldn't have happened.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you everyone for listening, and we'll see you guys next time.
Thanks, guys.